everyone. Welcome to the Model 3 of our AI series. My name is Princess Anya. In this model, I will be discussing on prompt engineering. The goal of this tutorial is to help product managers, product owners, and business analysts, and anyone interested in AI to learn how to design a prompt that will yield a better output. What I will cover in this series include understanding of what prompt engineering is, the building blocks of a good prompt, different prompt frameworks, the core guide techniques that you need in your prompt designing, and lastly, we will try some hands-on using Claude AI and Google AI Studios. Let's get started. First of all, what is prompt engineering? Prompt engineering is the practice of crafting your instructions, that is your prompt, to reliably get a better, more accurate, and more useful response from an AI model. In other words, this is a practice of structuring, refining, and redesigning the instructions which you put in your AI model so that it consistently yield accurate, high quality, and useful response, which is your output. Let's take a look at this. Think of LLM as an extremely capable new employee on their first day. They are smart, well-read, and eager to help, but they know nothing about your specific expectation, your company's tone, or what good looks like to you. Two different managers giving the same employee the same task can get widely different results, depending on how clearly they explain what they want. For instance, imagine we have manager A that give a task asking this new employee to write something about our product. Think of this. This tax is actually a vague tax, and the employee might come back with just a generic result with no specification. Now, let's look at another manager, manager B, who asks specific tasks to this employee, asking her to write a 100-word product description for a reusable water bottle targeting eco-conscious millennials in a friendly and confident tone, highlighting that it's made for recycling materials. You see, this is actually focus. Same employee, same ability, completely different outcome based entirely on the clarity of the request. That's how prompt engineering is in a nutshell. This is critically important because vague input will lead to vague output, and precise, well-structured input, the model has a more narrow, clearer target to aim for. The takeaway here is that the model raw capabilities stay the same prompt to prompt. What changes is how effectively you are pointing that capability at your actual goal. We are going to explore the 5 things that made a good prompt. The first thing is role, a personnel. You have to ask yourself, who should this model be for this task? For example, would that be an experienced HR manager, or should he act as a patient customer support agent? Then the second thing is the context. The context is, what background does this model need to understand the situation? For instance, this is for a first-time customer who just had a delayed order. That's actually a way to give a context to your prompt. The third important building blocks for a good prompt is task. What exactly do you want to be done? You have to be specific as possible. Here, you can ask your model in the task to write a 3-sentence apology email. Be specific in what type of email you want the model to write. Then the fourth thing is the format. The format is what should the output look like? How do you want to see the response that the model will give to the user? And the last thing that makes a good prompt is constraint. Constraint is very, very critical and very important in prompt designing. This is ensuring that you know what your model should avoid, prioritize, or what should stay within. For example, you can say to your model, don't mention pricing, keep the tone formal, not casual. That is the way to constrain it on what exactly that is within the scope they should prioritize and what is not needed. A weak prompt is vague. For instance, creating a prompt that says, write about our return policy. The model doesn't know which return policies are you talking about. Is it return policy for library returning of books? Is it return policy for online fashion store? Is it the return policy for what exactly? You have to give the details. Now, let's look into a very detailed, strong prompt, leveraging the five elements that we have discussed previously. It reads, you are a customer support assistant for an online clothing store. A customer is asking how to return a pair of shoes they bought 3 weeks ago. Explain our return policy clearly and reassure them. Respond in 3 short paragraphs, friendly tones. Do not mention exact refund processing time since we don't have the policy finalized yet. This is how a good prompt should be. Leveraging this format is going to give you a better outcome. To move further, let's take a look into different prompt framework. Framework are simply repeatable templates that help you consistently include the right building blocks. Here are 3 popular, easy to remember framework that I have put together for you guys. There are other frameworks as well. The first one is RTF framework, which means raw text and format. These are basically used for quick everyday tasks. If you're prompting in ChatGPT, Claude, or in Gemini, you can leverage this for your productivity, your research, or for brainstorming. It gives you quick and fast framework for your everyday prompt. Then the second one is the coaster. The coastal framework entails your context, objective, styles, tone, audience, and response format. Here is the best choice for important audience sensitive communication, a more thorough framework for higher stake or complex tasks. Example where this can be used is drafting a company wide announcement about a policy change where tone and audience really matters. The third one is the sandwich framework. This is always referred as tags with reference material, where we have the instruction, the reference material, and the instruction again. This is specifically useful for longer prompts since restating your core instruction after the reference material helps the model stay focused on the actual text rather than getting lost in the content. Now, let's take a look at creating a prompt using Costa Framework. The prompt here for the week version says, write an announcement about our new remote work policy. It doesn't tell you anything more about that. There is no context. There is no text. It just says, write an announcement about our new work policy. Let's take a look at the strong prompt using Costa version. We say that context matters. Here, the context is our company is moving from fully remote to a hybrid schedule, 3 days in office, starting next quarter. Some employee will be unhappy about this change. The objective is to announce the change clearly while acknowledging the disruptions and explaining the reasoning. The style is clear, direct, no corporate jargon. And the tone is empathic but confident, not apologetic, not dismissive. The audience should focus on all employees, including fully remote hires who joined in the last year. The response format is using 200 words email with a subject line and a short FAQ section with three anticipated questions answered. The custom version shows you the context, the objective, and the behavioral constraint that is required from the model. Guardrail and boundaries in prompts. This is very critical, especially for product owners that are building AI applications and business analysts that are writing AI requirements. Ensuring that every AI application that you are building or designing has a guardrail and boundaries is going to help to give you a better output than building an AI model with no guardrails. Why this matter is that without explicit boundaries, a model will generally try to be maximally helpful, which sounds good, but can lead to making up information it doesn't actually have, which is hallucination, answering questions outside its intent scope, and being stirred off stacks by a clever or manipulative users. So there are five core guardrails techniques that I will be explaining to you today. The first one is explicit scope definitions. You have to state clearly what the assistant should and should not do. The second one is don't guess instruction. Explicitly tell the model to admit uncertainty rather than fabricating an answer. Tell the model that if they don't know the answer or the information wasn't provided to them, they should say no clearly instead of guessing. It is very critical and very important that this is being called out. The third one is escalation instruction. This is very important for business tools, defining what should be handed off to a human being. That way, they know the boundaries and when to involve human being to take over the escalation. The fourth thing is anti-manipulation instruction. This is a basic protection against a user trying to get the assistance to ignore his instruction. So putting anti-manipulation instruction is very critical as people are using your model and your model is public. There are individuals that would derail them if this is not specifically called out in your prompts. The last but not the least is the tone and content boundary. Define the tone of your model. Letting your model to know when to maintain a professional tone, a friendly tone. It's also good to call out the tone you don't want your model to use. For instance, your model shouldn't use rude tone. Those tones are the things you define within your models. If you haven't watched the first and the second model, please go in and watch to understand the AI foundation and understanding of large language model. Please subscribe to this channel and like this video. Let me know in the comment section what other AI tutorials that you would like. Hello everyone, welcome to the practical lab of prompt engineering tutorial. In this lab, I will walk you through how to text weak and strong prompts using ChatGPT and Gemini. Also, we will review the large language model application response and compare the response of the strong prompt versus the weak prompt. Remember, during the tutorial, we explored the 5 elements of good prompts. Leveraging the same example, I will test the weak prompt which is write about our return policy in both Gemini and ChatGPT. To have access to Gemini, you can create an account using your Gmail account. First, I will test these prompts in ChatGPT. To have access to ChatGPT, you can create an account using your email account. So, the prompt, which is a vague and a weak prompt that I am using, is write about our return policy. I will send the same prompts in Gemini application. Let's review the results from ChatGPT application. So for ChatGPT, the return policy wasn't precise. It gives a robust and generic return policy, non-returnable item, and how to return an item. If you look at this, even though that the ChatGPT generated a very robust information, however, it is not focused nor give you a specific response. Let's review the response from Gemini. For Gemini, instead of generating a response, it asks a questions to understand further what exactly the return policy that I'm looking for. Now, we are going to try the strong prompt, leveraging the 5 elements of good prompts that we have covered in this model. The same example that we previously explained in the model is what I will leverage. Let's first use this in ChatGPT and run, and use the same in Gemini. These prompts have the 5 major elements that a good prompt should have. Now, let's review the response that we received. You can see that this gave me 3 paragraphs, and it stated clearly how the customer can return the product. It also reassured the customer that they can help to resolve the issue. Let's review also the response from Gemini. For Gemini, it gives me 3 paragraphs as ChatGPT. It clearly explains the return process and reassure the customer that their fund will be returned back to their original payment method right away. If you compare this with the vague prompt, even though that the vague prompt gave a robust and generic information, however, it was not specific. But using a strong prompt give you clearly the output that you are looking for. Secondly, I'm going to try another weak prompt, and I will create a strong prompt using a coaster format. In this weak prompt, the first thing I would do is to write an announcement about our new remote work policy. First, let me try this in ChatGPT. I will also try this prompt as well in Gemini. This is running. Let's first review the announcement from the ChatGPT. Even though this looks good, however, it is not specific compared to when a prompt is written with a clear format. So for Gemini, Gemini created a response as if the employee are all working on site and now transitioning into a hybrid, flexible, remote environment. If you look at this, you'll see the difference between different LLM application and how they will respond to you when you give them a vague or a weak prompt. Let's try the same prompt using a coaster format to see the output that the system will produce. So for this prompt, we have the context, the objective, the style, the audience, and the response. Run this. I will put the same prompt in Gemini. First, let's review the Gemini response. For Gemini, it first gives the subject updating our work model to the next quarter. The team, starting next quarter, our company will transition from fully remote to a hybrid schedule, requiring 3 days per week in the office. We are making this shift because in-person interaction accelerates our decision making, spark creative problem solving, and build strong connections across teams. If you look at this response, you see based on the prompt, this is focus, this is direct. If we also check the ChatGPT response, introducing our hybrid work schedule, starting next quarter, we will transition from our current fully remote model to a hybrid schedule of 3 in the office each week. Here, it recognizes that this is a meaningful change, particularly for employees who join the company as a fully remote hired. Please put in the comment section which of the response do you prefer, whether ChatGPT or Gemini. My assignment to you is to try these formats. Try the prompts in different LLM applications such as Gemini, Claude, and ChatGPT, and compare the response that each of these applications gives to you. Thank you for watching, and feel free to reach out to me if you have any question. Put in the comment section if there is any other prompt techniques that you would like to learn.